1 week in the middle of the summer, a giant eye appears in the sky over the city. At the end of 7 days, it disappears as suddenly as it had originally materialized. The Eye in the Sky Project. Episode 4. Place: the Eye of Horus Motel in the middle of Oklahoma. Sound: 10,000 exiled bankers registering for rooms. They've come for solace, redemption, and to write screenplays about the fall of commerce and their own tragic downfalls. More sound: an approaching twister. More sound: 10,000 exiled bankers typing on laptops. More sound. The twister grows louder as the play progresses. Or is it the Eye of Horus? We'll never know. Will we? Each person is in a different motel room. Scene 1. The plains are vast, wide open. Why haven't we conquered this part of America?
Scene 3. Corruption of the dam.
Scene 47. House of White People.
This film depicts the turbulent relationships of disturbed individuals existing on various levels of an apartment house.
A romance comic book of doomed women and handsome, nefarious young men caught in a web of dramatic cliches pushed ad absurdum.
The Devil's Cleavage. Scene 12.
Crushing emotions are indulged against a massive meteorological background that brings inspiration and terror to the characters involved.
I am interested in irrational, neurotic responses, and so the heroine is put into unstable situations that I dream of because I am making a movie with a plot and there should be some action. Many of the stars should appear nude, and all I can say it is because of the heat and the general overall feeling of the film, which will be one of the usual desperation. An explosive feeling! The general tone of everything is, why even bother to get dressed?
Scene 3. Young men and women awash with the vital forces that gush forth from flaccid hoses or dribble relentlessly from turned-on nozzles.
2 men, 2 women, 1 god, and many devils.
Scene 19. The Nocturnal Immaculation.
A female sex therapist throws herself into her work with wicked abandon and confronts the masochism of her 9-to-5 job, with plenty of overtime.
Scene 2, Hollywood, where legends are born and souls die in the hell fire, licking tongues that aim to please where it hurts the most.
Can we ever retrace the steps it takes to progress downward to the meat-beaten path of our youth when not even Jehovah can jive to what we juke?
A dramatized social commentary with the horrifying impact of a 300-ton chunk of margarine.
A cast of characters aboard an ocean liner of large dimensions. The ship eventually is torn apart with the romantic intrigue and labor revolts, and the few tattered, yet still attractive, survivors confront the dawn of a new and natural dominion.
Summer of no return.
The rising moon.
Walter drinks a lot.
Very loud music.
A search for happiness.
A housewife obsessed.
With a large hairy creature.
Nature assaults their vessel.
Fashion.
Teenage rebellion.
Smiley. Eating.
Legends are born and souls die.
Nothing new.
This film will document a thunderstorm as it rages in a full fury above a motel in October on the southern plains. There's sun, wind, clouds, rain, and electrical pyrotechnics, with perhaps a glimpse of a human figure. But only a glimpse.
I hate altitude. And sudden changes in it. More so sudden changes in it. Roller coasters, fast elevators. I once was ridiculed as a child for throwing up in a coin-operated helicopter ride in the game room of a local pizza joint. I shorted the wires or something and the helicopter stopped as high as it could go and stayed there. I was afraid to climb down, so out of fear, I climbed out of the cockpit and onto the top of the ride. I fell. When I hit the ground, I fell right into what little vomit had landed outside of the helicopter. My shirt soaked it right up immediately. They should make a paper towel out of the same material as that shirt. Chunky pizza barf, half-acidly wiped off by my mom, now branded my backside, marking me like the smell of human hands on a baby bird. No good deed I had ever done before in my life outweighed the shame of wearing my own barf. No kid could look past or get over it. They no longer wanted to participate in any activity with me, only ridicule me from a safe distance. This occurred at my older brother's birthday party, so these were older kids I couldn't even think about beating up. Being the chaperone, my mother couldn't take me home, so I stayed there, occasionally hiding in the bathroom or sitting at the party table, pretending like my mom's conversation was actually more interesting than the game room, the holy land of 9-year-olds. But for the longest time, I pretended to play the arcade game Tron. While playing my first quarter, my brother's friends began to compose songs, really funny ones, to my fully exposed barfy back. My feelings were hurt as much as possible, but when my brother joined in, my feelings were hurt more than possible. I started to cry. I mean, not sob, just tears forming, lip tightening, difficult to swallow. I stood there at the game long after I'd used up the last quarter of the $5 I'd been given. I pretended I was still playing while the demonstration and title screens cycled through, ever so often grabbing an imaginary quarter and placing it inside the machine. It was a brilliant performance, all to hide my hurt eyes and embarrassed face. I felt the effects of that day for years. I was ridiculed all the days of my scholastic career, not about the barf incident directly. But one day leads into another, and not everyone remembers why exactly you're labeled as unworthy of friendship. But they all play along. Adulthood was a kind of gift that eventually came. People eventually became only indifferent to me, mostly due to the indifferent nature of my interactions with them. Until one strange 7-day period last summer, when a strange eyeball, bigger than a football field, appeared in the sky and turned humanity's ass upside down. It was a dark day for the evolutionists. The creationists took it as proof to there being a creator. There was the eye of God in their minds. Although no one really knew why or how the eye got there, they would make these assumptions. The hardcore feminists stated that the eye looked slightly feminine, therefore God was a woman. Conspiracy theorists saw it as the unveiling of the Illuminati. PETA was just pissed off that the eye looked human. People saw what they wanted to see. Stocks fell, low-income neighborhoods rioted, and Jehovah's Witnesses went into overdrive. A preacher in Kansas claimed it was the Lord's way of saying he disapproved of gay marriage. Some group in Iran said it was proof that there was no Holocaust, and Oprah gave it an honorary spot in her book club, even though it wasn't a book. Just about everyone could link the eye to their cause. Oh, except me. The eye was just there. It didn't do anything. It simply was what it was, a giant eyeball in the sky. And it wasn't taking sides with anyone. I didn't feel it was judging us. It was just observing. And I felt we should show some sort of respect. Observe and respect, that's all. And that would have been fine with me, but not for the superiors in the corporate office. You see, I worked at the local lens crafters, the branch closest to the eye, and on the third day, the eye started to develop mucopurulent matterings in the punctum, or, to the rest of us, an eye booger. You know the little grody things that sometimes form in your eye overnight? Well, the boys upstairs thought it would be a great idea for me to remove it during a commercial, given the fact that I was an actual employee who worked directly under the eye. At first I said no. Then some jackass convinced me that it would be an astounding feat, something to remember, an experience, that I would have my day in the sun. Then the plan was revealed to me. I would be strapped on a ladder-like device attached to the top of an Air Force Harrier. The Air Force would later use the footage in their new "The Eye is Proud Upon Us" campaign for recruitment. I mentioned I didn't enjoy climbing in altitude quickly, or for that matter, at all. They said Harrier jets take off very slowly due to their stealthy nature. It sounded fishy to me, but I agreed. All of it was put together so quickly. 2 days later, I was strapped to the top of a warplane in flight gear. I looked like a nerdy maverick. But it's what they wanted. The director kept trying to excite me. He was a kind of enthusiastic person that actually sucks the energy away from you. He kept saying, "Oh, baby, wait till you see what I do with this." A crowd gathered to see me off. The CEO of my company was taking pictures with me. Girls were blowing me kisses. A small child of about 7 gave me a thumbs-up sign as I climbed onto the plane. It was then that I started to feel good about myself. Like my life finally completed some horrible circle that needed to be overcome in order to find happiness. I gave him a cool salute and he smiled. A photographer snapped a picture and a reporter shouted, "Oh, why do you think the eye is there?" And I replied, "I don't know, but it's my job to take care of it." Just like I had been instructed to say. I came off a little like a bad action movie star, but that's okay. It felt cool. It was all going to be all right. They would strap me in and rise slowly to the eye, and I would simply remove the eye booger and be a hero. The engine started, and I have never been more pissed off in my life. Slow ascent my ass. I've never gone that fast. Immediately, I was tearing through the wind, upward into the sky. I felt like my face was going to slide off my skull. This was scary. This is not fun. And that's when it happened. Yeah, you guessed it. Barf. Barf from here to Timbuktu. Barf. Mucho barf. I cannot explain to you how much barf there was just streaming all over me, all over my flight suit and goggles, my helmet. I eventually had to point my head downwards to keep it from further clogging my nostrils. I just kept barfing. It kept coming out, and I hated the world. Even that little kid that had given me thumbs up, I hope some barf landed on him too. The plane finally reached the eye, and I couldn't see a damn thing. The director was hovering nearby in a helicopter with the cinematographer. He kept instructing me, "Don't mess with the goggles, just grab the booger," he said through a megaphone. I couldn't see it. "Don't feel around for it, just grab it, lovingly." I kept feeling around through the air, trying to find this holy allergy. When I grazed the eyeball with my fingers, and the eye had a flinch reaction. The eyelashes were strong enough to jostle the plane a bit and knock my helmet down over my face. Now I really couldn't see anything. "Hey, buddy! The helmet over the face! I don't know, I'm not loving it. Could you make a different choice?" the director asked as I tried to keep from suffocating inside of my helmet. "There, now, just grab the booger, gently." I glared at him. "Come on, buddy! Some of us want lunch," he joked. I was furious. I screamed, "I don't want any lunch." My sentence came out funny because I was so mad. The next thing I heard was the pilot faintly saying, "Looks like he already had his." The director must have had the megaphone on talk. The snickering and laughter ensued. "I sure hope I can take all that vomit out in post," the cinematographer replied, giggling, and then they all did Exorcist impressions. "Oh, shit, is this still on? You still there, buddy?" I nodded sadly. "Great, now grab that booger." I did. "Great, I'm loving it. Now, one more time." I threw up a tiny little bit more. "Okay, that's a wrap." And with that, we started our descent. It was just as bad. When we got to the ground, everyone was clapping. I got off the plane and I walked through the crowd silently with my head down. As I neared people, they would stop clapping and just stare in disgust. No one liked a guy who touched the sacred eye and barfed on himself. I just went home. I tried to quit my job the next day, but my contract stated I had to continue work at LensCrafters until the commercial aired. The commercial aired the following day after that. Just one day before the eye disappeared as mysteriously as it had come to us. There I was on television in my flight suit, barfing my way up to the giant eyeball. They carefully used shots from far away and recycled a little bit of the close-up footage of the takeoff before you know, with Eye of the Tiger playing in the background. Then they cut to a shot of me saying, "It's my job to take care of it," like a total tool. Then more Eye of the Tiger and recycled close-up shots. Now the music slows down and switches to that really shitty, sentimental music that they use in commercials as I take the eye booger out. Then the voice that does all the movie trailers says, "Lens Crafters, taking care of all the eyes in your neighborhood." And then freeze frame of an obviously doctored snippet of when I was yelling about the lunch break. They took the gross stuff out, thank God, or thank the eyeball, as some say now. I resigned the following Monday. The commercial on television was kind, but YouTube wasn't. I now live in the Australian bush where there is no YouTube. I live with a tribe of bushmen, and every evening after the hunt, I kick their asses on my solar-powered Tron game. I received a gift today from my older brother. It's a framed picture of me walking through the crowd after my famous flight, and with a tear forming in my eye, I read the inscription, "To my little brother, who has always been so brave." That's right. Full circle. It's funny, huh? My heart is full of kindness. I shall let the chief be first player tonight, and in the morning, I shall gracefully return home.
The scratch of shattered stained glass portraits of irrelevancies
The Eye in the Sky Project, a production of Audacity Theatre Lab, Episode 4. Written by Gary Winter, Jeff Swearingen, and Chris Alonzo. Directed by Brad McEntire. Performed by Oscar Contreras, Brad McEntire, Renee Kelly, Brian Pitts, John Flores, Ruth Engel, and Chris Alonzo. Audio recording by John Flores. Original theme music and sound design by Chris Humphrey. Eye in the Sky Project, Episode 4 is a registered trademark of Audacity Theatre Lab. All rights reserved. For more information about Eye in the Sky, please visit audacitytheatrelab.com.